Welcome to Subramani. This is a very, very different kind of a post, and it is urging you to go and vote, right? Why? I mean, there's no election coming. The next election is 2024. The next election, if anything, is in UP, and I do not know how many people in UP watch this, watch a financial blog in English, right? I'm sure there'll be a lot of people. It's a big state, but still, this is not meant for that. It is meant for something very simple. If you don't vote, you will end up like being like China, and that is a disaster. Look at what has happened to Jack Ma, right? His company has been taken apart. The market capitalization or its worth, the worth of the companies that he ran or continues to run, or believes that he continues to run, is exactly half of what it was 9 months ago, and I can predict 9 months later it will be further halved. There is absolutely no doubt where it is going. It is a one-way road to disaster. This is what happens when you don't vote and communist government runs the country. I mean, communism has destroyed more wealth than anything else. So, welcome to Kerala, Bengal, and of course, the great China. I am not even sure whether YouTube will allow this to remain there. But then Forbes has done an article on the dismemberment of Jack Ma, and it is really worth seeing. The CCP, that is the Communist Party of China, says we are just trying to put a bridle on the horse, BRIDLE, right? This stirrup and all that's called bridle, and they not put a bridle. They have done mass amputation in different parts of the body at different times, and obviously without anesthesia. It can't get worse than this for anybody. And Jack Ma originally made a statement that not very many rich people have a good ending. Unfortunately, it is true for him, right? So the worst thing is the process is not over. The Beijing is taking it apart and giving it to various people, including completely failed people, including a battery company, a failed bank, a bad bank, a bank which was formed as a bad bank. They are going to sit on the board. It's just been broken so badly. The most corrupt and financially shaky companies in all of China are the ones who are handling it. Obviously, CCP comes, I mean, calls me and says, okay, take 5% here, you don't have to pay anything, sit on the board. It's not going to hurt, right? And that is exactly how they've been doling out that company. Who's Jack Ma? I'm sure all of you know that, right? Not very long ago, maybe a year ago, he was the richest man in China, and he founded Alibaba. Obviously, there is not too much of love for him abroad because Alibaba is just a copycat, right? So, but Alibaba was China's largest tech company. It drove people's imagination. He was the most recognized face. Definitely outside China. Inside China, obviously, Xi Peng was the most recognized face. But yeah, so internationally, when people respected and still looked at him, it was Jack Ma, or I forgot his Chinese name, but yeah, he used to call himself Jack Ma. And of course, Alibaba and the Ant Group, and which was the largest fintech company in the world. Make no mistake, it was not Amazon which was the largest company, it was Alibaba which was the largest company. Corporate empire, it was comparable to any FANG in terms of market capitalization, and it had more net worth than I think almost every American company except perhaps Apple, Amazon and Google. So it was much bigger than all the other American companies. So if it were listed just in US, it would be the number 4 company, let's put it that way, and it would be part of every FANG portfolio, right? He was of course a worldwide celebrity. I've seen him on talk shows in Singapore. I don't think he's done talk shows in India, but yes, he's done in Singapore, Hong Kong, US, China, of course. And clearly the most famous guy. But I don't think he also knew very clearly that his success was because he was in China. Just Alibaba by itself outside China had absolutely no way of surviving, but that is how it is. So they called it the era of Jack Ma. But I think the abrupt reversal of fortunes was really shocking, and I guess it was because he was getting too popular. So the current boss man of China didn't like it, and I can't think of anything else. So, and his company was supposed to go for an IPO, and then when it all stopped, the Ant IPO was oversubscribed mentally to a great extent, and I think it was some last minute squashing which happened. Otherwise I think it would have reached 2-3 trillion. I'm just checking out. Yeah, Wall Street Journal called it the $3 trillion scramble, right? $3 trillion. Just imagine the number of zeros in a trillion, right? It's a million. So you're talking of 6 plus 6, 12. So that many zeros in dollars is what the size of the IPO was. Ma was triumphant. He was obviously all over the place. He was over the moon, and he was about to launch the biggest IPO in the world, and this includes US, right? Almost all big things normally happen in US. It was really the age of China, China's visibility, China's soft power. Everything was going perfect for him, and the big man did not like it, and then the hand fell. So the biggest IPO in human history, and it was happening in a city other than in New York. Right, very rare, very pretty unheard of for people my generation. I mean, it's never happened. So the market cap, the size of the book was more than the market cap of Germany. We're not talking of a small market. Market cap of Germany was less than the Ant IPO, or including the oversubscription, right? And then following the IPO fiasco, the regulators began to remove different parts of the body. The central bank ordered Ant to form a separate financial holding company, saying we need to supervise you separately. And there they said, okay, now this was going to be an opening for other state banks, failed banks to come in and enter. The government, of course, had its eye on the data that they had in Alibaba. So they wanted to supervise the tech company separately, the banks separately, etc., etc. The tech-intensive analytics generated by Alibaba was another thing that they wanted. So then Beijing had to rectify things, and they said Ant will also be required to break into an information monopoly for the vast and detailed consumer data, and it had to hive off the treasury trove of data on more than 1 billion people as a key to Ant's business overall in response to a regulatory crackdown. Even worse was Ant created history by setting up a mutual fund, and they had a money market fund, and that was another great and fantastic success story. In 4 years, the fund became, at least briefly, bigger than Fidelity and JP Morgan, and they shocked the banking world executives. And they built up Chinese consumers and said, all the leftover cash that you have, please put it here, right? Typically just a liquid fund, and it had more AUM than Fidelity and JP Morgan. So Beijing saw that also, and Ant's business was put into reverse. It shrank for 18% in the first quarter and 50% from its peak. It is not just the equity markets are down or debt markets are down or anything. The crackdown began and the assets started disappearing. I've always said cash is a coward. Capital is a coward. It will run away, right? So it just started. The decline is not some natural forces. It just declined. It has shrunk to 4-year low in the face of China's crackdown, and his payments gateway is in trouble. He was ordered to actively reduce the fund size as part of the deal. There were a lot of antitrust penalties of about $3 billion. His company was carved away to various people. His own company, he had to buy a stake at paying some $625 million, right? And huge, humongous damage. So go and vote.